Jordan and Gretzky, Serena and Ruth. Remembering great ones is easy to do. But what about the no-names who spent their whole lives long snapping footballs and catching sack flies? They're guys, remember that guy. Remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy. They're just gonna remember some guys now.
Bonilla hits it well. Is it far enough? It is. Remember that guy. The show where we mine our memories for nuggets of nostalgia by peripheral players, past and present. Hey there, folks. It is me, one of your hosts, James, and I'm here with a guy who feels like $1 million today.
I'm feeling like $1 million. Diaz back with you once again, and we have a very special guest. He has interfered on 4 different fly balls to deep left center for Arizona. Please introduce yourself.
Crap, what's that asshole's name? Zach Hempel? Yeah, I'm the one who beat him up and took his job.
So this is actually, I'm specifically referencing, there was a very close home run / fan interference call in left center last night in Arizona. This very Arizona Diamondbacks looking fan, he has a hat that is presumably bald under it. He has a gray goatee. This guy interfered on that fly ball, and people have gone back and they have found that this same fan has been involved in 4 different potential home runs over 4 years at that specific part of Chase Field.
That's honestly impressive.
Why is he allowed to keep getting tickets there?
So presumably he's the season ticket holder because, normally you're supposed to get ejected if you interfere with the game at all. I'm assuming he's giving some leniency as a season ticket because, it's the exact same spot. And the other thing that is important is it's not like, oh, he's only doing this on Diamondbacks home runs. It's a 2-2 split. This is just a guy that wants to involve himself in the game.
Okay, as long as it's neutral, actually, I'm fine with this. If Jeffrey Mayer had also pulled in, I don't know, some fucking Melvin Mora hit, then maybe things would be all right. But as it is, he still remains Satan. However, this is a delightful thing. I love this fan. I love that he's making memories for you, Diaz. I wonder what else is joining this fan in that realm of things that are making memories for you.
Yeah, so that fan is making a lot of memories. Hopefully continuing to making memories are the Indianapolis Women's Blues, because by the time this comes out, they will have played the semifinal and hopefully played the final as well of the Eastern Conference for the USL Women's League. And what's very hopeful as well, so if they were to win both these games and advance to the Final Four, that is also determined by a bid process, which is basically, hey, where are the most fans going to be? If you listen to this podcast, you already know. The most fans of semi-pro. Pre-pro is what the USL likes to call it, so I will call it pre-pro.
Pre-pro is an excellent way. That's like certified pre-owned levels of spin.
Not semi-pro, pre-pro. It's the preeminent location for it, and it will continue to be so. And I hope that the Lady Blues take care of business. I hope that the male Blues turn it around. There's 4 or 5 games left in their season. They're not quite out of the playoffs, but they're in that if you win all your games, you still need some help territory. But listen, Naptown, don't sleep on them. They haven't been sleeping on them. They keep coming out. And I hope to see both Blues teams continue with some great success going forward.
I mean, Diaz, I'm going to say, not to put words in your mouth, but if we're talking women's sports, there was another thing I thought you were going to mention along the lines of memories being made, or at least that will be made at some point in the future.
Well, of course, but I feel like it's not my thing to bring up. It's our thing to bring up because we've been doing this for well over 3 years at this point, and we have longed for so long for Kathy Engelbert to end her reign of terror, to give the 3 of us one team that we can all root for. And it is finally here. It is the Philadelphia to-be-determined WNBA team. We don't know the mascot yet. We do know it's coming. We do know it will be 2030. Maybe I'll be a father too. Maybe all 3 of us will be dads by that point. Maybe all 3 of us will have daughters by that point. And maybe all 3 of our daughters will be able to grow up and watch a team that is hopefully sold to Dawn Staley by then. Josh Harris, that's the one thing that's kind of a little not great about it, but listen, beggars can't be choosers. Kathy Engelbert You are no longer banned from this podcast. I believe we banned her at one point.
Yeah, she can come on now. Kathy, if you want to join us, we'd love to have you on.
We would love to have noted ball knower and appreciator of Philadelphia and giver of a team to the city of Philadelphia, Kathy Engelbert. It's awesome. It truly is, in the words of LeBron James, about damn time.
The two names I've seen float around as jokes most often are the Philly Birds, bird being Philly, and then also just being like, British for lady. And then also the Philly Broads. I will also point out just on the Dawn Staley of it all, and I've mentioned this online already if you follow us, but Dawn Staley's contract extension runs through the 2029-2030 NCAA season. I think the vision is Dawn's going to come right on in, and what player would almost certainly follow Dawn Staley at that point as a certain championship core probably winds down its time? I don't think Dawn Staley coaches in the WNBA without Asia Wilson being on her team. So I think you've got a bright future ahead all the way in 2030.
It is a little silly that we have to wait that long. Like, I'm so excited for this thing that is going to be 5 years from now.
And it's so interesting that it's going to be odd-numbered teams for a while, because it's an odd number of teams right now. Then we're adding 2, so it's going to be another odd number of teams. It's not until 2028 that there's an even number of teams in the league again. It's just strange. Just a strange choice. But hey, you made the right choice, Kathy, at least. Xavier, you said you had a bummer. Do you want to put the bummer in the middle, or do you want to finish with the bummer?
We could put the bummer in the middle, so we're not leading into anything fun with that. Diaz, I have to call out your old employer here, so we're about to get some.
Probably called them out many times.
Some UPenn hate, because as of about 15 minutes ago, the University of Pennsylvania did capitulate to the Trump administration. The Department of Education put out a statement saying that, quote, UPenn will restore to female athletes all individual UPenn Division I swimming records, titles, or similar recognitions which were misappropriated by male athletes allowed to compete in female categories. UPenn will issue a public statement to the university community stating it will comply with Title IX, specifying that UPenn will not allow males to compete in female athletic programs or occupy Penn Athletics' female intimate facilities. The statement will specify that UPenn will adopt biology-based definitions for the words male and female pursuant to Title IX and consistent with President Trump's executive orders defending women from gender ideology extremism and keeping men out of women's sports. UPenn will post the statement in a prominent location on its main website and on each of its websites for women athletics. UPenn will rescind any guidance which violated Title IX, remove or revise any internal and public-facing statements or documents that are inconsistent with Title IX, and notify all staff in women's athletics of all such rescissions. And just to, have a kicker here, UPenn will send a personalized letter of apology to each impacted female swimmer.
I hope the person that wrote that statement is dead.
Unfortunately, they're alive right now, and
you don't know that by the time this episode comes out, baby.
Evil survives a very, very long time. This was, for those who do not know, we are recording this on July 1st. The Senate did just pass a bill where the deciding vote said, and I quote, "Do I like this bill? No. But I try to take care of Alaska's interests. I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill. I struggled mightily with the impact on the most vulnerable in the country when you look to the Medicaid and SNAP provisions. My hope is that the House is going to look at this and recognize that we're not there yet." In other years, the deciding vote on that bill would say, hey, let's just not pass it, recognizing it's going to kill many, many, many people, mostly the poor. Instead, we have, I had to look out for my state's interest, even though it's going to kill a bunch. So we're in a bad spot, and UPenn has decided that they're too chicken shit to fight back against a ridiculous demand. They have all of the money in the world, and even they are just like, you know what, fuck it, we'll just hate trans people if it might save our federal funding, which we know from what happened with Columbia, it's not. Trump will be back in 3 weeks saying, now do all of these things and fire your president and hire 16,000 conservatives to run the entire university, or we're going to take your funding again. It's so fucking disappointing, and it's upsetting. It was a kicker reading that UPenn thing after the past 3 days of waiting for this shoe to drop on this stupid fucking bill. I don't know. I'm sad. I'm sad about that. I know it's a bummer.
I just, the actual Quakers are one of the few groups that have any kind of spine through all this, despite being famously conscientious objectors who do not fight. And I look forward to seeing what chicken shit name Penn does to switch from the Quakers, since they clearly do not have the moral standing to assume that identity any further.
To me, it's just like, we can talk about the moral and all that of it, but it's like looking at it through a strictly competition lens. It's the Reggie Bush of it all, where it's like, these competitions already happened. A person already won. Like,
a person already came in fifth. A person already came in fifth. We don't even need to say one.
And the NCAA already fucking changed their rules to capitulate anyway, where even though the president of the NCAA said there is less than 10 trans athletes, they already banned them at Trump's behest. This was purely retroactive punishment to UPenn, which, is shown by the last thing is they have to write personalized apologies to every female swimmer affected. What does that mean? How are they going to define impacted female swimmers? Is that thousands of every NCAA swimmer from a 3-year period they have to write a personalized apology to? What is that benefit? That's literally just Trump and his administration be like, we can force you to do whatever we want because you're our bitches. And so we're going to make you grovel and write apologies. Most of those women probably don't give a shit. I'd say the vast majority don't give a shit. We've had interviews with female swimmers during that same time that did not care at all that Leah Thomas was either on their team or competing against them. And yet the Trump administration is going to make sure that all of those letters are probably public. They're going to want to make sure that those are sufficiently toe-licking of the Trump administration on there. So it's so frustrating. It's like, you can't please fascist dictators. You can't. Whatever you give to them, they'll say, okay, you gave us that, we'll take more. And that's what's going to happen here. So, I'll have the most unhappy ding in about 2 weeks when we see that UPenn's getting sued over something else.
I'm not giving them a ding. They don't deserve a ding. They don't get a goddamn ding. No, it sucks shit. No mincing words about it. Let's see if we can try and chase that away with a little bit of levity. Now, I could take some time here to share an excellent New York Times article that Xavier shared with us about a big cheating scandal in squash. This is an article from the New York Times that features the phrase testicle tickle. Not going to do that one. I'm also not going to talk about the large cheating scandal in a recent World Series of Poker event. Because, guys, turns out that combining gambling and poker and money and Nevada creates, moral conundrums that people find themselves in. I'm gobsmacked, and I'm sure you all are as well. However, I do want to stay in Nevada very briefly so that we can talk about something that, much like the Athletics, is being taken from its ancestral home in Philadelphia and in a roundabout way, presumably taken to Las Vegas in the near future. I am talking about the reheated, zombified corpse of the Wingbowl. For those of you unfamiliar, for those of you who are not up to date on your RTG lore, go back and listen to the episode that we'll link about Molly Schuyler. She is a dominant competitive eater, and that is what the Wingbowl is all about. It's been going on since 1993, or rather, was going on, dating back to 1993. That year, much like the NFL draft, the Wingbowl started out in a ballroom of a Philadelphia downtown hotel, and it didn't grow quite as much as the NFL draft, but it did pick up a lot over the years, serving as this kind of panacea to Eagles fans who felt as though when it came to early February, they never had anything to root for because the Birds typically did not make the big game. They did make the big game then, towards the end there, and of course won the big game with Mr. Big Dick Nick Foles. And Molly Schuyler, in that last big one, set the record with 501 wings in 30 minutes. An absurd amount of food.
It's a disgusting amount.
I realized right before I said this, I don't know if I need to give you the content warning for a moment. But there you go. 501 wings
I'm aware.
in 30 minutes. 10 seconds a wing. 10 seconds a wing. Incredible. Anyway, after that, the Wingbowl was brought to an end. A couple reasons. One, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, so you no longer had to have this kind of alternative programming in that time. They've won another Super Bowl since then, in case you didn't hear. And two, there were these people called the Wingettes in this, kind of like the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall. It was maybe not the best look. This was 2018. We used to kind of care about attitudes towards gender and sexuality and potential like ripe locations for groping and assault and general creepiness. And it turns out Las Vegas, at the very least, no longer has those problems. They're big fans of that kind of creepy lifestyle. And so coming up on July 4th, this will have already taken place by the time you hear us. But at the time we are recording, we are ahead of the very first qualifying event that they will have a number of each time, getting, I believe it's at the top two contestants that can eat the most wings over 3 rounds. So I think they're still doing 30 total minutes, but it's 3 10-minute rounds as I'm reading it. So, still the same amount of time. It's not like we have to prorate the number of wings to try and find out if someone can just beat Molly's pace rather than her actual total. So 501 wings, still the mark to beat. This, by the time we record it, will have gone on once. There will be more qualifying events leading up to the big February event, the big Wingbowl. And I'm guessing, kind of like Wings, this zombified event will not be as good reheated as it was originally. But I'm in a land of IP never being allowed to die. The Wingbowl is one thing I don't hate seeing a reboot of, and I'll just kind of leave it at that.
I do hate that it is no longer in Philadelphia because thoroughly our thing, thoroughly a thing that doesn't it having a shittier version in Vegas is befitting of Vegas, but the Wingbowl itself, it's like everything good and bad about Philadelphia distilled into one nice thing. I was gonna say when you were talking about the wingettes, the video board operator, the technical director, actually set a record every year. He was the slowest camera puncher in the history. Oh no, not ready, camera 3, take 3. Wow, guys, don't show that again. Definitely don't show that again. Oh, 3, you're showing it too. Oh no, ready, camera 4, take 4. That was an annual occurrence there.
So, they've worked out some kind of licensing thing with it was originally a radio great city,
WIP.
Philadelphia. WIP. And they have, worked out a licensing. Do you think it's still going to be Eagles colors? Do you think they're trying to do this up like Raiders style, Golden Knights or whatever? Do you think they're just going to, are they trying to make this part of the larger Super Bowl ecosystem? Is that the buy-in here as we see it?
As I'm thinking this out loud, Rob Gronkowski's 100% going to be the master of ceremonies.
God, yeah. Yeah. Hey, to be fair, Jason Kelce gets a lot of work. Jason Kelce could still absolutely be the master of ceremonies.
It depends if this, by going to Vegas, if it becomes more family and sponsor friendly, then Kelce. But if it becomes more raunchy, then it's Gronk.
It's a fair breakdown. The dream is the two of them together. Jason Kelce getting to be the straight man for. Anyway, enough talk about fake things surrounding football. This week, for our game-breaking guy, my final one of this season, I want to talk about, the actual football. And I want to talk about quarterbacks specifically. And I want to start by asking you guys, what do you think in general about quarterbacks who run? Just throw some of your first thoughts when they come to mind there.
Randall
Cunningham.
Honestly, the Eagles really do have the market cornered historically on
Randall,
quarterbacks that can
McNabb, Jalen Hurts now, absolutely Michael Vick, you've got him in there. There's a lot of them, and I always in my head think this is a mobile quarterback. If you go to Wikipedia for the record, they will be described, this kind of classification of quarterback, as dual threat quarterbacks.
I want the single threat quarterback, but the one that's not a single threat with passing. I want the single threat running quarterback, the true triple option Army quarterback.
Well, so this is kind of where I wanted to start, because if you haven't had a chance to first part of Elite, we talk a little bit about how quarterback came to be, because the name quarterback derives from really early on in the game, right after they invent the line of scrimmage, and the suffix back is just talking about the guys behind the line of scrimmage with the prefix denoting how far back they are. So you had your tailback all the way at the back, then your fullback, halfback, all of these positions are essentially rushers. There's not really passing at this point of the game. And later you'll get the wing back who turns into receiver, and then people are starting to throw the ball. And now that you've got someone passing the ball, the quarterback is going to start specializing in this one skill. And for a long time, we see running kind of like fully fall out of favor in that position. You're just looking for like the statuesque pocket passers, standing tall under pressure, slinging it out. That's it. Like the next couple of decades of football, that is what this evolves to until eventually we get to a point where the homogeneity of it all spurs a slight change in thinking. Okay, well now, if everyone is good at this thing, what if we find quarterbacks who can do a second thing well? And that second thing ends up being the original thing that quarterbacks did well, which is run. And so what is old has become new again. And this is kind of what begins the onslaught of the dual threat quarterback. And if you're looking in the NFL at like the commonly cited first one, you're probably going to see people throw out Fran Tarkenton. It's a very reasonable response. In the pros, one of the first guys to be doing that. But if you go to his Pro Football Reference, you'll see two things. One, you'll say that his nickname is the Scrambler. And two, if you go to his rushing portion, you will look that his career high is only 376 yards. And his average for his career per game is 14.9 yards. He could improvise. He could scramble. He could move if he needed to. But it wasn't the point of it all. To find someone where both the passing and the running was the point of the thing, we need to instead turn to where football innovation is often bred, in the college ranks. And just about a decade after Tarkenton hits the scene, we witness another major figure in the evolution of the dual threat quarterback, my guy today, Reggie Collier.
Interesting.
Love
I'm excited for
good
this.
Reggie.
We love a Reggie. We love a Reginald C. Collier. Reggie born May 14th, 1961 in Biloxi, Mississippi. And early on, parents get divorced. He doesn't end up living with his mom. He ends up living with his mom's parents, his maternal grandparents. His grandpa's a bishop, very against him playing sports. So he doesn't get a start on the athletic side for quite some time. It's not until later on when his mother, Brenda, around his teen years, sends him to live with his dad. And so he's a very late bloomer when he gets to D'Iberville High. That's spelled little d apostrophe I-B-E-R Ville. So I think D'Iberville is correct. But in D'Iberville High, he plays a couple different sports. He is a good hooper. He's a very good basketball player. And at first, no one's really sure how good he is at football because he's held back by injuries repeatedly, like gets a couple games in and then collarbone takes him out. So it's not until his senior year that they even get a full season from him. But during that senior year, goes an undefeated 13-0 as the team's offensive center of gravity, not just star, the supermassive supernova at the center of it all. So he's doing this with his arm and his legs. The word that everyone uses in the write-ups around this time in high school is glides. It looks like he's gliding when he moves on the field. He's just such an effortless runner. And he's also playing defense at the same time. He's in the secondary. And like a lot of black athletic quarterbacks that will follow him, there are a lot of recruiters who talk to him about changing positions. We don't know if quarterback's your full-time thing. Look, you're great with the ball. You move really well. You're good in the secondary. Let's see about maybe moving you to a different position. But one local option is not saying that. And so like many athletic black quarterbacks after him, Diaz, we remarked the fact that there is a strong Eagles lineage there. He too says go Birds as Reggie Collier commits to the Golden Eagles of the University of Southern Mississippi under coach Bobby Collins.
Better than the other quarterback that has come out of Southern Miss. So,
and both of them have their numbers retired. They are held in equal esteem. USM, since 1952, had been a pretty dominant force in the college division of sports. This is sort of a predecessor to D2, sort of a predecessor to D1 AA. Again, elite, this time part 2, has an excellent breakdown of all of these differences in college sport athletics. And it's an independent this whole time, has like 17 winning seasons under Thad Van as they slowly move their way up to the university division. And then Collins comes in with much higher aspirations to match the school's higher aspirations at this point, because when Collier has his lone full high school season in 1978, Bob Collins is busy guiding the Golden Eagles through their first season as a D1A independent, following the official establishment of D1A as a setup. They go a very solid 7-4, And their main QB from 78, Dave McDaniel, is still in place for the following season, 1979, Collier's freshman year. So he doesn't get a lot of action that freshman year as the team goes 6-4-1, nearly identical to the previous season. He does show up for the first time on the scoreboard in the first week when he picks up a 2-point conversion on a failed extra point snap in a game against Cincinnati. So already, in his very brief appearance on the field, showing what he can do with his legs. And then he's a non-factor for much of the rest of the year. They have a pretty good season. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. So they have the unofficial state championship that Mississippians like to refer to. And then he gets his big break halfway through the season finale when he replaces McDaniel and throws for 2 touchdowns and a pick on 8 of 12 throwing for 77 yards, along with 9 rushes for 37 yards, flashing, and I quote, unsurpassed poise in crucial situations.
God, I love old QB stats. It makes me think of fucking looking at Terry Bradshaw's stats from the Steel Curtain team, being like, damn, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league at this point, and those stats look like someone that wouldn't be a third stringer in the NFL today.
Well, or your boy Broadway Joe. Broadway Joe was like the greatest quarterback in the league.
He had the yards.
Let's not get he has a career completion percentage below 50s. Don't try and stand for Joe Namath here.
No, Joe Namath threw the ball more often than anybody else. Even at that point, the Jets have not had a passer pass for as many yards in a single season since Joe Namath. That's he was the literal just chucker. He chucked it all the time. But when I see Bradshaw, it's the total number of attempts, the total yards, plus the touchdown interception ratio. I'm like, damn, this was a good, really good year.
To me, I think of pre-1970 quarterbacks. When you look at their completion percentage, it's like a modern 3-point shooter. 40% is kind of your threshold to where should you even be doing it. 45, we're talking about the elite guys, and 50 is oh my god, who is this wizard?
Collins looks at this. He knows he needs to go out and recruit some more dudes, but he's also really confident that he does not need to recruit a quarterback. He tells Orly Hood of Clarion Ledger about Reggie Collier. He can do everything we ever wanted a quarterback to do, and do them well. He can run, he can throw, and he's got an excellent mind. He made 2 or 3 great plays. He's got that ability. We're closer than we've ever been to where we want to be. For the record, I do not know what Bobby Collins' voice sounds like. That just felt like where the spirit moved me in that moment.
In my head, I was imagining more of an Ed Orgeron type character.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I didn't get enough drawl really in there. If I have any other Bobby Collins quotes coming up, I'll try and take it a little bit more gumbo style.
Wait, I hate to interrupt real quick, but I just looked up Jets single season passing yard leaders. I want to see if you can get the top 3 are insane.
Joe Namath, Vinny Testaverde.
Joe Namath is 1. 1967, 4,007 yards. Still the Jets' only ever 4,000-yard passer. Testaverde is 5th. His best season was 3,732. And that was 2000.
Did Rodgers get up there this last year?
Aaron Rodgers is 3rd all time with 3,897 last year.
I'm going to say Chad Pennington, number 2.
Chad Pennington, his best ever was 12th in 2006.
Damn.
Is it the one dude who made a Pro Bowl?
I'm assuming you're talking about Ken O'Brien, but the answer is the Harvard man, Ryan Fitzpatrick, in 2015 with 3,905 yards, which it's insane that Ryan Fitzpatrick is 2nd. Namath did this in a 14-game season, and no one in 60 years has passed him.
And the only person that came close is someone that everyone objectively said, that was a bad season. Not the only one, but I'm thinking, Aaron Rodgers, that was a bad season, and he's now number 3.
Jets are crazy, man. But sorry for interrupting, but I can't think about quarterbacks without thinking about how terrible that is.
No, thank you for that connecting flight. Let's go back. We are turning to 1980. They got a week 1 matchup where they're road dogs against the Tulane Green Wave. And they hung with Tulane the year before, lost the game 20-19, pretty close till the end. They are quickly down 14-0 in this game after 2 field goals and a touchdown with a 2-pointer after for Tulane. And then Collier completely takes over. USM's ever regionally televised game. Not their first national, not their first cable game, their first ever regionally televised game. He quickly ties it up before Winston Walker, who had actually missed the potential game-winning kick in that 2019 loss the year before, nails the game-winning field goal this year with 21 seconds remaining. The defense is able to hold on, and they start 1-0. And in fact, they actually start 6-0. This kicks off an unprecedented W6 for USM to start the season. And by October, midway through this, local reporters are calling Collier one of the best young quarterbacks in the nation after a particularly good performance against Ole Miss, a 143-yard passing and 110-yard rushing comeback from 14 points down, just like he did against that Tulane. This team is tenacious as they go through. That one gets them the 4th of their 6 wins. They continue to build on that. Collier and future Bronco Sammy Winder are leading an electric offense that after 6 weeks is outscoring their opponents 195-68. That is an average scoring margin of 21 points. That's not averaging 21 points a game. That is averaging beating your opponents by 21 points a game going through this. It is incredible for them, and it is all at the core of it based on the veer offense that Collins is running. This is where we talk a little bit about your precious triple option, Xavier. The veer offense is a kind of V-shaped variation of the triple offense. You have your quarterback lined up behind the line of scrimmage, and then you've got 2 halfbacks, tailbacks, whatever term you want to do it. There are 2 running backs lined up parallel to one another, the same distance back from the quarterback at slightly offset angles. So this is where the V shape is coming in. Quarterback, then off to either side, halfback behind him. Quarterback makes the read as they go into it, decides whether he is holding, he is handing the ball off, he is passing. It is a very basic triple option setup. It is a triple option based on that schematic shape, and that is everything that USM has going for it, flowing out of there. And it's got them believing. It's got them believing in the skills of Collier. It's got them believing in the coaching of Collins. And another thing, for the record, that has them believing, there's this weird motivational firm that Coach Bobby Collins hires called Attitude Development and Exchange. Like literally just motivational speakers that got a full write-up in a local Mississippi paper all about how they were like changing the game for Collins' team. There's not much more interesting to say about that. I just think it's weird that he hired some like not even full-on sports psychiatrists, literally just motivational speakers to hang out in the locker room basically the entire season. But they have all of this belief leading into a Week 7 matchup against Bear Bryant's Alabama Crimson Tide. Bear Bryant the year before had just won his 2nd consecutive and 7th overall national title, and the week before, they had just beaten Tennessee 27-0 for their 27th consecutive win. Now, Bryant, in the lead up to this matchup against USM, who is heavily favored to lose this match. This is all Alabama. And Brian is very deferential to Coach Collins and the program he's putting up, which is nice for Collins, who's been complaining at this point, like, hey, we're not getting enough press for being this great team. We just finally got ranked in the AP for like the first time ever. They're number 20 coming into this after October 21st, 1980. Their first ever AP ranking. Bryant is saying all the right things to make sure that there is no bulletin board material. And because there is not, all of these fans for USM, they show up. They've got their black and gold We Believe buttons on that they've worn in USM colors. And they watch their team get fucking trounced. It is a final score of 42-7 for the 28th consecutive win that the Alabama Crimson Tide put up during this span. It is a brutal beatdown. And they don't get a ranking again this year. They end up going 8-3 altogether, which does get them their first bowl of any kind since 1946, a Liberty Bowl matchup against McNeese State. They win 16-14. And all that means that Reggie Collier finishes his season with a line of 1,268 passing yards, 7 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and 464 rushing yards with another 2 scores on the ground. This is a pretty strong season by a sophomore player, true sophomore, operating in a still relatively new offense for him. And so we're entering the junior year of 1981 with some pretty big expectations. Can this team, that had so much unexpected success the year before, keep this thing rolling now that people are on the lookout for? Well, for the first 4 weeks, yeah, Looks like it. They demolished Louisiana in week 1 with 33-7 beatdown. They beat Tulane again, much more convincingly this time, 21-3. They wrap up this 4-game stretch with a 52-9 blowout of University of Texas at Arlington that features a career day for Reggie Collier. He accounts for 298 of the team's total 630 yards on offense, including a career-high 186 yards on the ground. And all of that sets them up for a matchup with number 7 Alabama in Tuscaloosa once again.
Come on, have some early Johnny Manziel magic. Fuck Alabama.
I've got bad news and I've got good news. Do you want the bad news first?
Yes.
Okay, they don't win this game. Do you want the good news?
Yes.
They don't lose this game. It is a 13-13 tie against Alabama.
Oh my God.
And that, at the time, is enough for Alabama fans to lose their mind. Like, tying to USM in this, it is as good of a win for the Golden Eagles as it is a terrible loss for the Crimson Tide. It is the only blemish during a 9-week span with 8 wins that gets them this time all the way up to a number 9 ranking in the AP poll after a 58-14 drubbing of ranked FSU at the time, which features the pièce de résistance, I think, of this whole season. A 69-yard rushing touchdown by our boy Reggie Collier to really put the dagger in late.
It is incredibly nice. If I can just redirect us really quickly, because when you mentioned UT Arlington, I was like, that's not a school that has football anymore. And it's not. Very shortly after that season, 1985, the program was disbanded. Their marching band refused to dissolve in conjunction, and they are one of the only marching bands in the country that exists without a football team to march for.
Dude,
yeah, I love that.
Love that. Shout out to UT Arlington. Thank you. We needed that. That was perfect. Unfortunately, this season is not perfect. They do not go entirely lossless. They have a late season loss to the Louisville Cardinals that knocks them back, but a 9-1-1 record is still very good. It still gets them into a bowl game. The Tangerine Bowl, which is now the Citrus Bowl. It's not the Orange Bowl. It will someday be the Citrus Bowl. It is the Tangerine Bowl. They do lose, but the stats from this game push Reggie Collier's season totals to 1,004 passing yards and 1,005 rushing yards, making him the first player ever in college football history to have a 1,000-yard season in both statistics.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's third-team All-American good, if you ask the sports writers. It's not quite Heisman good, but he does get votes. He finishes 9th in the Heisman voting. This is the Marcus Allen year. Dan Marino's coming in 3rd. With all due respect to Reggie Collier, you ain't winning if Dan Marino's coming in 3rd. But till this point, Collier's college career has been a confluence of a couple things. It has been a combination of him and his skill. It's been a combination of the skill of his teammate, halfback Sammy Winder, and it has been the Veer offense under Bobby Collins. And all of these things have worked together really well. But unfortunately, Sammy Winder gets drafted into the NFL by the Denver Broncos. Collins switches around the letters for his employer. He's no longer going to be at USM. He's going to decamp to SMU. Bobby Collins is the coach that's in charge of SMU when the death penalty punishment from the NCAA comes down in 1987 for paying players. So I didn't know I was going to come across that footnote when I was looking into Reggie Collier. That's fun. Bobby Collins has not had a job in college football really since then. That leaves just Reggie Collier and new head coach Jim Carmody coming into this next year. And Jim Carmody, he is not a Veer offense acolyte. He's not going to continue on the use of this in the same fashion. He's going to install his own offense. And so Collier still has a pretty good season. He finishes with 1,265 passing yards, go with 803 rushing yards. That's still great. It's more all-purpose yards than he had before. But it doesn't quite have the same paradigmatic shift around it. This is not as good of a season for USM in general. I do want to take a second, though, to hone in on one particular game. They have a 1-3 start. They battle back to 6-3, and that is just in time for a 3rd consecutive year traveling to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to take on Bear Bryant's Crimson Tide. And in some ways, it is a very modest day for our boy Reggie Collier. He only has 68 passing yards. He only has 81 rushing yards. He accounts, though, for 3 of the team's 5 total touchdowns. And if you ask the Tide players, they point to him as the X factor that gives USM what 28-year SID for the school Ace Cleveland called the greatest win in school history. They not only beat the Tide, they give the Tide their first home loss since 1963. They had a 57 unbeaten at-home game streak coming into this. And the USM Golden Eagles beat Alabama here in a, for them, relatively meaningless game as the season ends. And with the season coming to a close, Collier's college career also comes to a close. He is taken in the NFL draft that year, pretty late on, by the Dallas Cowboys. This is, though, mostly a play to kind of hedge against the futures of the USFL. He has also been drafted into the USFL, 3rd overall. So he's going to end up going to that one. He's drafted by the Birmingham Stallions, relatively local team to him in that same area. But then he's traded for the draft rights to Jerry Rice, which were owned by the Washington Federals at this point. And that is with whom he eventually signs initially, the Washington Federals. He plays with them for a little bit. He continues to play with them when they spend some time in Orlando as the Renegades. Collier's going to be the first to admit he's bad at doing homework. And what he means by this is watching game tape, worrying about his conditioning, going through game prep. And this, and more injuries, competition from other guys on the rosters, it really does keep him from catching on in any way here in the USFL, though he does set what is briefly the pro record across all leagues for the single-game rushing performance by a quarterback on March 21st, 1985 against the Jacksonville Bulls. Runs for 171 yards and 4 touchdowns on the day. And then Dallas hedging against the fate of the USFL. It comes to pass. The USFL folds. Dallas still has his draft rights, and so he signs on with Dallas. They sign him and Herschel Walker on the same day, so he gets a little bit overshadowed. And he starts as a 3rd stringer, but it is notable that while he starts as a 3rd stringer, that makes him the first ever black quarterback on the Dallas Cowboys roster. On November 23rd, he comes in relief during the waning minutes of a horrible blowout loss being suffered by the Dallas Cowboys, but that makes him the first ever black quarterback to appear in a game for the Dallas Cowboys. And later that season, in the final week, doing the same kind of thing, basically filling in the season-long equivalent of a blowout loss, he becomes the first ever black quarterback to start a game for the Dallas Cowboys. This whole time, they're kind of holding out hope that he can be their version of this new prototype of quarterback that is coming now more along the lines of a Randall Cunningham. We are seeing this kind of dual threat quarterback outside of just someone like Fran Tarkington scrambling around when a play breaks down, come into the NFL and really set the tone for what we're going to see over the next few decades leading us to now of that offensive evolution. But unfortunately, he only is able to get these brief backup times in Dallas and a really short stint with Pittsburgh during the 1987 players' strike. I am acknowledging here real quick, Reggie Collier is technically a scab. Maybe we can look past it. We can discuss that later. It should be acknowledged. He crosses a picket line. And that certainly puts his NFL career to a close after the strike is over. Goes back to Orlando. There's no USFL there, but you know what is in Orlando? The AFL. He is the first ever signing of Orlando's AFL Predators, and he is eventually replaced on that team by a future Hall of Famer, quarterback Ben Bennett, who would appear for such other esteemed franchises as the Sacramento Surge, the San Jose SaberCats, and the Portland Forest Dragons. Signs on with the Albany Firebirds afterwards, and then just disappears from the AFL just as quickly as he did from the USFL and the NFL. Reggie Collier does not really ever catch on at a pro level. And this quote-unquote failure haunts him to a big extent. Like, he fully acknowledges he felt as though he failed at the pro level after a pretty successful college career, and it leads to a lot of substance abuse problems. Unlike many of the stories that feature that following the playing career, he is able to get help in time. And he is able to sober up, and he's able to stay alive to today to see the revolution that he helped jumpstart really catch on. In particular, there's a great write-up of him in 2012 as we're seeing the evolution of the pistol offense. We're seeing Russell Wilson on Seattle, Colin Kaepernick, RG3. Again, if you want to hear about that playoff run, there's another episode of Elite for you. You should all just be listening to Elite all the time. But he, was able to speak on kind of this new wave of it coming in. And during that article, during his high school number getting retired, during his college number getting retired alongside the other USM Golden Eagle Brett Favre, and the third guy from USM to ever have their number retired, Ray Guy. In all of these different instances, the number one thing Reggie Collier wants to talk about, he wants to praise the quarterbacks that are coming on. He heaps some praise on himself. He acknowledges his skill, but he also wants to talk about the coaches at the high school and college level for him that gave him a chance to try and be something new in a new offense. And he talks about the guys like Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, the Shanahans nowadays here in 2012, saying these are now the coaches that are recognizing that guys have always been here who can do this, and they need to be brave enough to just kind of adopt that system. But someone also has to be there to, yes, it is important that you have a coach with the kind of conviction to try a new offense, to commit to that new offense, and to really implement it, but you do need a guy with the skills. Collier was one of those first guys with the skills to line up with a coach that was letting him do it. He was one of the first ones to start breaking football in this particular way that's still testing its limits now. And for that reason, and for so many more, Reggie Collier is my final recommendation for induction into the Hall of Guy for this category. I rest my case, but I open the cross-examination.
I have two questions for you.
Let's hear him.
Did he ever send dick pics to a reporter?
As far as I'm aware of, no.
Did he ever steal state welfare funds to build a volleyball court?
Also, as far as I'm aware of, no, I will acknowledge. He said he had some bad times. He might have done things. He seems to have come back from that, and he definitely didn't use state funds for a volleyball arena specifically.
Okay, good. Then we can say without a doubt that he is the best quarterback to come out of Southern Miss, and that will piss off the man who will not be named very, very much, no matter what else we decide.
He is the best quarterback and second best guy to come from USM.
It's hard. It's really hard to beat Ray Guy when it comes to being a guy, but second is not bad.
Well, as I look at his collegiate career, because obviously, with a professional career, clearly the peak was in college for Reggie.
For sure.
On this show where we so cherish third place champions, he is a 2-time third team All-American.
Yes. Yeah, he does. Sorry, yes. His senior year, I believe it's an all-Southern selection, which apparently was just like a regional one, completely devoid of conferences entirely. So they stack up against SEC players, or I think they would still run SWAC and that and stuff. But he does get twice a third-team All-American selection. Ninth and Heisman isn't nothing. I also just want ninth and Heisman is not nothing for a guy at fucking USM.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had I'm not sure if they still do it, but they used to have the all ECAC team, which was supposed to be the East Coast Athletic Conference, which didn't actually exist, but
I think they still do it. Yeah.
Yeah, which is very funny because why? You would think, come on, we know that conferences have nothing to do with geography at this point. Why are we still doing the ECAC? But no, I love breaking the game. I love trend setting, the archetype, the archeguy type, and we got all of it with Reggie.
We had it all. We had that part of the wider explosion. We see these concepts ported over from college. When we talked about the pistol offense in Elite, we talked about it moving from college into the pros, and it moved from college into the pros through, in a lot of ways, Colin Kaepernick, the guy that it was kind of modeled around at Unilev in college into the pros. So some quarterbacks have gotten to kind of bring their mobile game to that next level. Whereas with Reggie, he really just kind of existed as the proof of concept and didn't get to bring it over, but he did get to see it. And just when we have very often a lot of these stories of guys that don't make it, having a lot of the troubles that he did and not getting past them, it was really fun to find out, oh boy, here's the dark moment. Oh, we got through it. Cool. We got through the dark period of his life and he's still alive. That's great. He's still kicking. He's not kicking. He's running. He's throwing. He's doing it all. He is the dual threat quarterback, and he is my guy this week. And I appreciate the two of you giving me the time here to put him out there. We appreciate our producer, Craig, and all the coders behind him for making this recording possible. We appreciate musical director Don Ham for making us that lovely theme music. Most of all, though, we appreciate you, dear listener, for joining us in celebrating yet another game-breaking guy. And we've got one more of them still to go. Next week, we will conclude our 9 nominees for induction this season with yet another game-breaking guy. But until then, if you want to keep up with this, if you want to find out who wins the first qualifying event for the Wingbowl, any of that fun stuff, I promise you can find all of that information through our social feeds, which you can locate at bit.ly/remember that guy, all one word, all lowercase. I mean, hey, if Elite has sounded great through this time, it's also where you can find all of that. Is there anything else that you all find is on your mind?
The WBA ranked Jake Paul in cruiserweight, so now he is possibly in line to get a title fight at some point.
Come on. I'm not saying he's not going to get a title fight, but, like, come on.
I think they're gonna find a way to do it just for the ratings.
He will be offered a title fight, and, like, you see those, like, YouTube videos of, like, the cat has already wounded the mouse, and, like, they just wait for the mouse to, like, squirm a little bit, and then they bat it, and they wait for it to squirm a little more. Jake Paul will be the mouse if he gets paired with an actual, like, world title level fighter. Like, it's gonna be like, we know the classic Muhammad Ali, you know, his opponent, his mama call him Clay, I'ma call him Clay. And he just basically keeps making a mockery of the guy, sticking jabs in his face, saying, what's my name? What's my name? It's gonna get to that level if this actually happens. I would love to see the Canelo fight. I would love to see Canelo Jake Paul so much.
And if that's all that we got, then I have been one of your hosts, James.
I've been the very special guest, Xavier.
And I'm Diaz, and I didn't get a chance to do it earlier, so Xavier, congratulations for signing Guy-Sean Yabusele.
All of the ones I found come with, like, decals and stuff on them that make them look like you were in the army. I'm like, I'm not in the army. I just have this baby in a camo tactical vest.
How many Punisher logos can you get strapped on that thing?
Oh, I bet I can get like 15 on there. Easy.
And like, you are eligible for USAA, so it's not as stolen valor.
It's true.
Yeah. What do you think is the team that has the most, like, sports team across all 4 leagues? What team do you think has the most Punisher logo gear made for it? I'm going to go ahead and say I think the Yankees are going to take this just with the NYPD of it all, but I'm open to other thoughts.
I'm not saying this to be that guy. It might be the Red Sox. It might, like, that. Seems like an insanely Boston thing.
I don't know, dude. It seems very NYPD code. I think we've established it's probably Northeastern Corridor, one of those two.
God, if the Hartford Whalers still existed, it would be them.
I mean, it would fit kind of nicely into the skull teeth, to be completely honest. Like, you could actually do some interesting graphic design with that.
Make Hartford Whalers again.